Testing 1, 2, testing 1, 2. Hey everybody, my name is Cheryl Kleeman and I'm the Director for Transfer and Student Veteran Success here at Oklahoma State University, and I'm super excited to have our first session of OKSTATE Transfer Talks. With us today, we have Karena Tyler, who is a Senior Financial Planning Coach in the Division of Scholarships and Financial Aid. She has her Bachelor's of History from Northwestern Oklahoma, her Master's in Curriculum and Instruction from West Texas. And a little bit more about Karena is that she was a teacher for 19 years. That deserves some serious applause right there, because teaching is not easy. And she's been here at OSU for about 4 years. Karena, why don't you go ahead and tell us a little bit something about yourself?
Well, thank you, Cheryl, first of all, for having us. I'm here with my boss, and I'll let him tell a little bit about his title and what he does here in just a minute. But you had asked me for a fun fact, and I'm left-handed. So I guess that means I'm in my right mind. I hope some of you can relate. My boss might tell you otherwise. But I love all things OSU, and I love to travel and sports. And so I also love to help students. And I hope that if you are listening today or anytime in the future, that you can reach out and I can help make that connection with you. So I'll turn it to Robert real quick.
Good afternoon, folks. I'm Robert Raab. I'm the Assistant Director for our financial planning coaches here at Oklahoma State. Wasn't prepared for a fun fact, but since Karena was talking about left hand, an unusual fun fact about me is at one time I was a hand model.
We're a hand model?
Yes. For greeting cards. For real.
That is not at all what I was expecting.
I know, right?
That's awesome. All right, so now that we have our introductions done, we're going to go into a few questions, and we're going to give Karena and Robert both a chance to answer the questions and tell us a little bit more about what the financial planning coaches do here at OSU and how they assist you with your academic success. So the first question I have, and I'm sure this is on everybody's mind, is what is a financial planning coach?
So a financial planning coach, we are basically here to help students navigate the financial aspects of college life to maximize their financial aid opportunities, but also to find resources to help fund their education, but also hopefully carry them into post graduation and how they can better manage if they have debt, anything like that, if they have financial setbacks, but to help them weather those storms. So where everything is, it's just a hurdle. It's not a wall that you hit and you cannot get over.
Okay, so our transfer students, by and large, many of them have come from many different schools, many different life experiences, different backgrounds. Why would you recommend that a transfer student come and talk to you?
A lot of times when we have transfer students come in, every university, no matter 2-year, 4-year, private, public, we all have different ways of doing things. Yes, everybody fills out the FAFSA, the financial aid application, but how it's processed and some of the things that they're required by the school to verify those are different. And I think it's knowledge is power. And so having the knowledge of how that process works, and we're here to help aid through that process. We're not just going to go, oh, this is how it works, have fun. We want them to ask questions and be able to help reassure them that this is how we do it at OSU. And sometimes it's like, well, I've never filled out a FAFSA before. I didn't know I have to do that at all. I didn't know I had to do that every year. So we're just here to help learn OSU's. And I think that everybody, whether they're new transfer students or whether they have been here a couple years and their situation has changed, just knowing that process helps.
You have anything to add, Robert?
No, I don't. Other than I say no, I don't, and then I'm going to add something. Go figure. No, it's really good that we can help all students just navigate available resources, whether they're within the university or outside the university. And knowing that every student is different and unique and their situation is different, we can help them navigate the whole process.
So if a student were to come see you, what does that coaching session entail? I mean, what information do they go over? Is it just going to be like if they walk into the financial aid office and they talk to someone in there, or is it going to include different things?
It could be both. Obviously, we are going to go over that financial aid package, help them understand it. It basically is tailored to the need of the student. Sometimes I have students who are like, oh, I'm not worried about paying my bill. My parents are going to do that, but I need to know how I'm going to pay my rent. And so we talk about different budgeting aspects, different things that can help them be less worried about the financial burden so they can worry about their academics. And basically I say, what's going on? Because I can't get a good picture from a computer screen if they don't tell me how I can help them, because sometimes I'll be like, oh, they need this, and they'll walk in and they'll be concerned about something totally different. So just talking to each student, figuring out what they need, where they're at, where they want to end up, and then just providing them resources. Sometimes they're follow-ups every week, every month. Sometimes it's once a semester or never again, depending on what the student needs.
So when you talk about what the student needs, a lot of our transfer students are adult and non-traditional students. They have families, they're working sometimes one, if not more jobs. Many of them have a lot of other stressors that the traditional college student does not. So what type of information would you recommend that a student bring to an appointment with you?
What kind of information? Basically, if they are working, or we all know we all have the same amount of hours in a week, and we can't expand those just because we have a kid or we have jobs or anything like that. So maybe a breakdown of in their head, even if it's not on paper, like how many hours am I going to be working? How much time do I have to devote to my studies, and how much, if I have savings or if I'm working, how much of that earnings can I actually use to pay my bursar balance? We have, any information that they feel comfortable sharing, we can help them try to, mold and come up with a plan that works for them. Obviously, if they say I make $500 a week, I'm not going to, it's not feasible to go, okay, well, you need to pay $1,000 a week on your bursar, for example. So tailoring it to them and just having that information. If, most of the time, if you say to a person, okay, well, how much do you make an hour? They don't go, I don't know. Or, things like that. So there's just a lot of things that are already in their head. They don't have to have anything special when they come to us.
So meeting with you is about more than just the financial aid package. It's about the whole idea of being able to finance their education from start to finish.
For the most part, yes. And we do have conversations. They're different when they're freshmen or their first semester at OSU. And as we go into their education, not that just their situation changes, but they're also what they want out of that changes. And so, yeah, it's more than just, okay, pay your bursar. We want to make sure that they're not mentally stressed because they're trying to figure out, I have to work 50 hours a week and go to school 20 hours a week, so to speak, to be able to pay my bursar, because that's just not sustainable. And that's what we want, is that sustainability.
So a lot of students, typically when they get to the point where they need to come and talk to you, they've exhausted almost every other financial avenue that they're aware of. Now, OSU is a big school, and we have a lot of scholarships that are university-wide. But are there some other things that maybe students should think about when they're looking for additional aid?
I'm not really sure. Other things, maybe looking in unexpected places, as far as different groups on campus, things like that. Is that where you're
Yes.
going with that? Getting involved and knowing that even no matter how small or how big, maybe they have a tribal affiliation, maybe they're, their work may have, and I know that's not on campus, but there are so many resources that people don't even think about. They're like, oh, I didn't know they did that. Even like credit unions, things like, just different things, civic organizations that love to help people, and they don't have enough people asking for help to be able to, to give out all their awards, if you will. There's also things like, just because you missed a deadline, you may have to wait a little bit, but there might be other resources when people don't come to, they don't show up, or they miss a semester, and their award gets reawarded throughout their college, but also just different organizations on campus. I mean, we could, how much time do we have? I mean, there's so many resources and groups on campus that I learn about every day. Oh, there's a exotic animal club, obviously they don't have a scholarship, but just asking the question, and using those resources like Campus Link to look those things up. And it never hurts to just say, hey, do you have any scholarships available?
What about you, Robert? What would you recommend? Oh, we lost Robert.
Sorry about that. I was trying to unmute myself and I hit the camera mute. Yeah, as Karena was saying, there are a lot of different opportunities. There's a lot of outside scholarships. We can help them navigate some of the inside scholarships as well, whether that comes through the foundation, through the university, just a multitude of places of where that comes from. There's stuff through the state. There's websites they can go on and create profiles and actually put in some keywords and essays, and it will do some searching for them. So it's a wide variety. And depending on the student, again, will determine which path we go down to help those individual students.
So one of the things that I hear from my transfer students a lot is, I don't have a high enough GPA to get a scholarship. What would you say in response to that?
I think it depends on the scholarship. I think that we see a lot more focus on financial need. Then I'm not saying that you can have just poor grades, but if you have define, I don't have a high enough GPA. A lot of times students go, I don't have a 4.0, they won't look at me, and that's not true. A lot of times they'll look at financial need. They also look at, are you involved in things? Have you been involved in things at your former school? Not everybody is perfect and has a perfect 4.0, but if there's need, they will make that. Obviously, you have to be in good academic standing most of the time. And there are departments within. I work mainly with arts and sciences, so that's my knowledge base. But sometimes there are different departments that they want a higher GPA, a 3.5 or a 2.5. But a lot of times the focus is on, do you need this money? And the unmet need through your FAFSA, which not to take over here, but that leads to a very important point. How do we figure out need? By what you have, if you've completed your FAFSA. And I know that we have a lot of non-traditional students, and so they're already independent students. But even if they're dependent students, I get a lot of, well, I don't get anything. And meaning they don't get any Pell Grant, but you still have loans available to you through FAFSA. But more importantly, even if you don't take those loans out because you're not required to, it gives OSU a baseline of what your estimated family contribution is and what your unmet need is. And even though you may have a higher EFC than the person sitting next to you, based on other things, other scholarships they receive, you may have a higher unmet need. And OSU cannot figure that if you do not fill out your FAFSA. And it almost, and this is almost universal. If you don't fill out your FAFSA, it's like a neon sign saying, don't need money, don't need money. And I don't know if there's anyone who ever says, oh, I don't need more scholarships, I don't need more money. So definitely, filling out that FAFSA is very, very important. Even if you don't use what's offered to you from the government.
So what I'm hearing from you guys is that potentially what a transfer student who comes to see you will get out of an appointment with you is a budget plan that doesn't only look at their financial aid that's available through the university and scholarships, but also helping to plan all of those other expenses and all of those other things that they have coming out. And that's just a huge benefit for our students. Would my assumption be correct?
Yes, I believe so. And sometimes it's not even, we're not inventing the wheel. Sometimes it's just another set of eyes. To be able to, oh, well, what expenses do you have that you don't need? Or sometimes it's, oh, I forgot to think about that. Like, my utilities aren't with my rent. So, oh, I forgot about that. And so it's just another set of eyes. It's very student driven. We're not giving them a sheet and saying, okay, this is what you have to do. The answers are within the student. Although OSU would tell us orange is always the answer, but anyway, I had to throw my OSU plug in there. Orange is the answer, but the answer lies within each student, and we're just facilitating. They already have that in them. We just want to help them and navigate what the roadmap. They know where they want to go, and they know what resources they have as far as budgeting. We just want to help them frame it that in the best way possible.
So one of the other things some students may be concerned about is who sees the information that you guys talk about? Who has access to that?
Robert, I'm going to let you, I'm going to say no one, but I'm going to let Robert touch on that because he's more of the.
Yeah, so anything that the student has in their student record obviously is accessible to both the student and to the financial planning coach. So that information is shared. Any additional information that the student shares with the financial planning coach stays with the financial planning coach.
So that the students can be assured that there's not going to be like people who they don't want to see the information are not going to be able to see it.
No, and all of the FERPA requirements are still in place for that student. So if that student, again, if that is in the student's record in our banner system, and they have proxy on that because they have a parent, a spouse, whomever that has that proxy, then we can share that information. But then any other information that the student, and particularly if they specifically say, please do not share this, then clearly we are going to respect that from the student.
Thank you. That's super important for our students to know. One of the other things.
I wanted to just add one thing to that, just from the standpoint of, there are times that we will do certain worksheets with general information, and clearly the student, when we do those worksheets, the students take that information away with them. But otherwise, we keep all of that stuff where it's not shared publicly.
That's fantastic. So once you have these plans in place and the student is, you haven't seen the student since they met with you, what drives follow through? How do you decide whether or not to reach out to the student again? What does that look like?
I think that depends on what is in the meeting. If I'm meeting with a student and we're budgeting, and it has nothing to do with like bursar balance, but we're just budgeting, I'm going to usually say, okay, do we want to meet in a month? Do we want to meet in 2 months to follow up? It's obviously going to depend on the time in the semester and what they want. Now, if it is something that is more financial aid driven or bursar driven, they still have a bursar. Each month we'll reach out to them. We have messaging that goes out saying, hey, you still have a bursar balance. A lot of times it's like, I'm here to help. If you don't have a plan, I'm here to help. Sometimes they have turned in documents to financial aid, or they were supposed to. I always tell students, if you have something to turn in, let me know when you turn it in, and I will put you, and I tell them, on my list. And I keep a list that I check every day. Kind of, it doesn't make the process go any faster, but it makes me feel better to know. And if they still haven't turned in what they were supposed to, that we talked about 2 weeks ago, I'm going to say something. I'm going to say, hey, have you had a chance to turn that in? Is there anything I can do to help? So it just depends on the nature of what needs to be followed up, whether it's more in a personal nature or more in a financial aid, and time sensitive as far as throughout the semester.
Fantastic. So we talked a little bit about this, about different financial resources. So obviously We have all of the OSU scholarships that are OSU wide. We have the ones that through our academic colleges and through their academic departments. But we have some other resources that are like emergency funds or through our identity groups. What are some of the things you would recommend students to look for in those cases?
As far as if there are, as you identify, identity groups, whether that be because like through institutional diversity, through veterans, anything like that, I would definitely, if they aren't comfortable, if maybe they don't even know where that office is, making sure they make that connection, giving them a name, or saying I can reach out to, so and so, whatever, to help make that connection with those entities. As far as emergency funding, and making sure that they have exhausted what funding is available to them before, and we can always go and ask, whether it be on a college level or, in certain offices, financial aid, exhausting everything we can before we go to that, because we don't want to, emergency, we don't want to make it every year the same emergency. We want to meet that need, but we also want to go forward and hopefully lessen that need through planning in the future.
Yes, and I mean, we see it in our office when we're working with some of our transfer and student veterans that things happen in life, and sometimes you just need a little extra help, whether that be a car accident, hospitalization, whatever the case may be. There's always reasons that while they may not be comfortable sharing, it's important to make those resources available to students.
Absolutely.
So how would you recommend a student, especially when they have all of these financial concerns and these life concerns and these school concerns and all these things going through their head, and they're just trying to juggle all these balls and keep everything up in the air? How would you recommend that a student find a healthy balance so they're financially well, mentally well, physically well, and academically well?
Well, this isn't fair to those non-planners in the world, but I say come up with a plan. I'm a planner, so I like to, and it doesn't matter what it is. If you are talking about, an academic plan, go ahead and sit down and map out your semester. When are things due? When do I have a test? Give yourself ample time to actually study for that. If you have a family or a spouse, they're going to want some of your time too. So try to make in a job. So you want to try to, if you have to, map it out every week. If that means sitting down with your significant other or with your, with your whoever takes, if you have children and it's whoever's taking care, and saying, okay, this is the time that I need to set aside. Financially, it's much the same way, is having a plan. And the earlier you have a plan, does the plan always go and stick to plan? No, but at least having a plan, I feel like, always makes people feel a little less anxious. And if they know that there's someone, whether it be you or me, or, someone in a different office, that if that plan doesn't go according to plan, go talk to someone. And if Cheryl doesn't have the answer, Cheryl is a wealth of knowledge, and she can tell you who else on campus can help you with that problem. But at the end of the day, no matter whether it's financial, academic, with time management, but having a plan and trying to stick to it, but knowing that you can monitor and adjust if you need to.
That is fantastic advice, Karena. Thank you. Robert, do you have anything to add to that? How have you helped students, or how do you foresee helping students juggle all of those things?
Yeah, it is a matter of planning and then prioritization. Even when it comes to budget, budget's such an evil word, but it really is about what are your priorities, right? And we try to work with students and have them understand you set the priorities and you set your budget off of those priorities. So if it's really important for you to get Starbucks coffee every day, well, then you have to budget accordingly and potentially give up something else. If that's not important to you, then you realize through a budget, wow, I've just spent $400 this month on coffee alone. Wow, that's not worth it to me, and I need to make adjustments. And that goes back to the plan. If you set out that plan, and as Karena says, try to stick to that plan. If you go off of that plan, you can take corrective action to get back on plan and continue going in a forward direction, a positive direction of where you want to be.
Yeah, I'm not gonna talk about Starbucks and their increase of $2 over the last year for a cup of coffee.
Yeah.
Mm.
And it's that kind of thing. If you don't track that every day and you don't realize that it's $2, and then at the end of the week, that's $15 right there. That like, whoa, what happened?
Yeah, a chai tea from Starbucks now costs $6.85.
Yeah.
It's insane. But yes, I fully agree with both of those things. Priorities and planning, those things together, as long as you at least have a baseline and you have a direction to move in, it's just so beneficial. I do it in my own life, and I'm not really a planner when it comes to my personal life, but I still have to do that too, because I do occasionally like my $6.85 cup of chai. And I have a kid growing up that I got to put through college too. So
Well, and
yes, planning is important.
Something also, it kind of feeds on that when you do have that hurdle or that need for corrective, ask for help. Don't wait till it's too late and you were here when you started, ask for help. And so I can't express, and I know Robert and I talk about all the time, we're here to help. I don't know anybody on this campus that works student facing and student services, Cheryl and Vince included, that would go, no, I don't want to help you. No, we all want to help. We just sometimes we don't know always who needs the help. So ask for it.
Yes. So if you had any tip, this one last thought to leave transfer students with about financing their college career, what would it be?
Complete your FAFSA. Hands down, complete your FAFSA. It signals so many things to the university, even if you don't use that money. Even if you have, some other entity is paying for your entire tuition and fees, but at least complete it. So then if you do have the tragedy or the catastrophe that happens, they already have a baseline and you don't have to wait a month or a week or 2 weeks for all of that to be processed.
What about you, Robert?
I'm going to go back to what Karena was saying. Ask for help, right? You are not in this alone. You probably aren't the only person with that kind of challenge, but we can't know. We can't look at you and tell what you're faced with. But if you share that with us and ask for help, we're here to help.
Thank you very much. So I always like to end all of my meetings and everything on a positive note. So I usually ask something here about what is your favorite thing about OSU? Do you have a dad joke? Just something to end with a laugh and a smile. Do either of you have something to end with a laugh and a smile?
I have a dad joke. So you go ahead first, Robert.
I was going to say, I don't have one. I think enough people probably laughed when I said it was a hand model. So.
So I don't know if this is so much of a dad joke, but my 13-year-old likes it. So a pirate walks into a bar and he has a paper towel on his head, and the bartender says, "What's with the paper towel?" And he says, "Arr, there's a bounty on me head."
That one's pretty good. I'm gonna have to steal that one. All right,
Feel
so
free.
we do have a couple of folks here in the room with us. Does anybody who's in the audience have questions? Well, it doesn't look like anybody has questions. I will be posting this video on YouTube, so make sure to go out to our YouTube channel. I will be posting the links for that as soon as I get this video trimmed down to where it needs to be and posted on the YouTube channel. Keep an eye on our website for that. Thank you, Karena and Robert, so much for being a part of OK State Transfer Talks. We're so excited to be able to offer this opportunity to our transfer students, and go Pokes.
Okay. Go Pokes. Thank you, Cheryl.
Thank you.
Bye.